It's 3:42 in the morning, and you have 47 seconds to make a decision that will determine whether 6 people live or die. Not tomorrow, not in an hour, in 47 seconds. You're kneeling behind an armored truck 30 meters from a 2-story house in Colonia Jardines del Valle, a middle-class residential area on the outskirts of Guadalajara, where the neighbors have flower pots with geraniums in the windows and park their compact cars on the street because the garages are too small. A normal street. A normal block. Except that behind the beige door of house number 412 there are, according to the intelligence you received exactly 4 hours and 23 minutes ago, between 6 and 8 armed operators from the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, guarding a shipment of 200 kilos of crystal methamphetamine with a street value of approximately $15 million. Plus an arsenal that includes AR-15 rifles, at least one RPG-7 grenade launcher, and, according to the source who provided the information and who has a reliability track record of 72%, possibly a .50 caliber mounted on the second floor. A .50 caliber. A weapon designed to shoot down helicopters and pierce light armor. Pointed at a street where there's a Nissan Tsuru parked with a Virgin of Guadalupe sticker on the windshield. You're the lieutenant of the Immediate Tactical Response Unit. What people call SWAT, although technically the correct name is Special Operations Group, attached to the State Attorney General's office. You've been doing this for 9 years. 9 years of doors kicked in, houses raided, shootouts, chases, and a collection of scars your wife knows by heart and your kids aged 6 and 4 think are from when you fell off your bicycle. You're 37 years old with the knees of a 55-year-old because 9 years of carrying 65 pounds of tactical gear does to your body what 20 years of construction does to a bricklayer. Your bulletproof vest weighs 24 pounds. Your helmet with ballistic visor weighs 4.5. Your short-barrel M4 with tactical flashlight, holographic sight, and 30-round magazine of .556 caliber weighs 7.5. Plus the flashbang grenades, plus the secondary pistol, plus the radio, plus the water, plus the individual combat first aid kit you carry on your back, because you learned 6 years ago that waiting for the ambulance to arrive on these types of operations is like waiting for it to rain in the Sahara. You know how much you earn for doing this? 21,500 pesos a month, about $1,200. Roughly the same as what a shift manager at a Starbucks in the metro area makes, with the small difference that nobody shoots at the Starbucks manager with a .50 caliber while he's making a frappuccino. $1,200 a month for kicking down doors at 3 in the morning, knowing that behind them, there might be a guy with a weapon of war aimed directly at the doorframe because he knows you're coming. Because they always know you're coming. Because in this country, information leaks faster than water through a broken drain. Your team. Let's talk about your team because that's where things get real. 8 men. You'd like to have 12, which is the minimum number. Any tactical operations manual recommends for an assault on a structure with multiple armed hostiles. But you don't have 12. You have 8. Because the Attorney General's budget doesn't stretch further. Because half the guys who passed the tactical course requested transfers to administrative areas after their first real shootout. And because finding people willing to do this job for $1,200 a month is harder than finding a repentant narco. 8 men. The oldest is 43, his name is Sanchez. He's been in the unit for 11 years and has the calm of a surgeon. The youngest is 24, his name is Ochoa. He's been in for 8 months and his hands shake every time he puts on his helmet. But he hasn't missed a single shot in practice and has the reaction speed of someone who grew up playing video games, which in close quarters combat isn't a joke but a measurable tactical advantage. Between them is Ramirez, your second in command, 31 years old, 2 kids, 1 divorce, a tattoo of the Navy shield on his right forearm because he used to be a Marine and left the Navy because they paid worse than the Attorney General's office, which tells you everything you need to know about the Mexican military budget. 8 men against 6 to 8 hostiles entrenched in a structure they know better than you, with firepower superior to yours. with the advantage of a defensive position, and with the added motivation that surrendering means spending 40 years in Altiplano, eating refried beans and staring at concrete walls. They're not going to surrender. They never surrender. In 9 years of operations, you've seen one genuine surrender, and it was a guy who'd fallen asleep when they entered and woke up with 5 rifles pointed at his face. The rest fight. They always fight. The operation was activated 4 hours ago. The information arrived at 11:30 at night through a prosecutor's office informant who works as a lookout for the rival cartel. Yes, your intelligence source is a criminal who works for another criminal and passes you information not because he cares about justice, but because every Jalisco cartel house you bust is one less house for the competition. Your strategic intelligence department is, in corporate terms, a competitor's marketing department that uses the police as a market tool. You see the irony? You're the armed branch of the Mexican state, and simultaneously, you're a piece on the board of a cartel war that doesn't belong to you, doesn't benefit you, and isn't going to end even if you bust 100 more houses. But you don't think about that at 3:42 in the morning. At 3:42 in the morning, you think about the door. The beige door of House 412. Behind that door are armed men who are going to try to kill you the moment you cross it. Your job is to cross it anyway. The tactical briefing lasted 40 minutes at the base. You studied the house layout obtained from the municipal property registry. 2 floors, ground floor, living room, kitchen, 1 bathroom, 1 room that according to the source functions as the shipment's storage. Upper floor, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and the possible position of the .50 caliber at the window facing the street. The assault plan is standard. 2 teams. Team Alpha, 4 men including you, entry through the front door with a hydraulic ram and flashbang grenades. Team Bravo, 4 men led by Ramirez, entry through the back door opening onto the patio. Simultaneous entry, radio coordination, dominate the ground floor in the first 15 seconds, contain the stairway, then assault the upper floor. Sounds clean on the whiteboard. It's never clean in reality. 3:43, your radio crackles. Alpha in position, that's your voice. Bravo in position, that's Ramirez. 30 meters of street separate you from the door. 30 meters you're going to cover running with 65 pounds of equipment on you. The order depends on you. Only you. There's no general in a command center watching screens. There's no drone overhead. There's no negotiator with a megaphone. There's none of that because this isn't an American movie with a Department of Defense budget. This is Guadalajara. It's 3 in the morning. And your annual equipment budget is less than what a SWAT department in a mid-sized Texas city spends on training ammunition in a quarter. You give the order. Execute. 1 word, 3 syllables, and the world changes speed. You run. The 30 meters compress into something that lasts an eternity and 3 seconds at the same time. The hydraulic ram hits the door with 6 tons of force. The door doesn't open. It disintegrates. The hinges fly off. The flashbang goes in before you do. A flash of 180,000 candelas and a blast of 180 decibels turn the inside of the house into a white hell of light and sound designed to disorient the senses for between 5 and 7 seconds. 5 to 7 seconds. That's all you have. 5 to 7 seconds of advantage before the hostiles regain their bearings and start shooting. You enter. The living room smells like old food and marijuana. A brown leather couch, a glass table with cocaine residue, a 60-inch television on with no sound showing a replayed soccer match. You process all of this in a fraction of a second, without consciously thinking about it, because your brain has been trained for 9 years to filter the irrelevant and focus on what kills. Movement, weapons, hands. A man appears in the kitchen doorway. 24, 25 years old, black t-shirt, shorts, barefoot. He has an AR-15 in his hands, but he's holding it at waist height, not aiming, because the flashbang left his eyes blind and his ears ringing. 3 seconds. In 3 seconds, he'll recover his sight. In 5, he'll aim. In 7, he'll fire. You have 3 seconds. You shout at him, "Get on the ground, drop the weapon." Protocol, always protocol. Even here, even at 3 in the morning, even with a guy holding a semi-automatic rifle 15 feet from your face. Protocol, because if you don't shout the warning and then you fire, the report will say you executed a civilian and your career, your freedom, and your pension go down the drain for not having said 8 words. The guy doesn't drop the weapon. The guy raises the barrel. The next 0.8 seconds happen in an order that your brain is going to replay on a loop for the next 6 months every time you close your eyes. Your finger presses the trigger. 2 shots. The M4's recoil pushes your shoulder. The man falls. He doesn't get up. You're not going to think about that now. Now you think about the next one. Always the next one. Behind you, Sanchez enters. He covers your right flank. Behind Sanchez enters Ochoa with trembling hands and huge eyes, but his rifle steady where it needs to be. In the kitchen, there's another man. This one is aiming. The shots inside the house sound like explosions. The enclosed space amplifies everything. The sound hits you in the chest. A bullet passes 12 inches from your helmet. You feel the wind. You feel the heat. You don't feel fear because fear needs time to process, and you don't have time. You have training. And the training says, move, shoot, cover, move, shoot, cover. Sanchez neutralizes the second hostile with a short burst. Professional, clean. 11 years of experience compressed into one movement. The ground floor is secured in 43 seconds. Less than a minute. The clock reads 3:44. You've been inside the house for 2 minutes, and you've already fired your weapon, already watched 2 people die, and your heart rate is at 190 beats per minute, which according to combat physiology manuals means your fine motor skills are compromised. Your peripheral vision is reduced, and your complex decision-making capacity has decreased by 40%. Under those conditions, you have to go up a staircase toward a floor where between 4 and 6 armed hostiles are waiting for you. Under those conditions, you have to lead 7 men who are in the same physiological state as you. Under those conditions, you have to make decisions that a court of law is going to evaluate 3 years later in an air-conditioned room with coffee and all the time in the world. Bravo, report. Ramirez answers, back door secured, 1 hostile neutralized, patio clear. 3 hostiles out of action between both teams. If the intelligence was correct, between 3 and 5 remain upstairs. If the intelligence was incorrect, which it has been in 32% of your previous operations, there could be more, or fewer, or civilians. You know what your greatest fear is? It's not getting shot at. You've gotten used to that as much as a human being can get used to being shot at, which isn't much, but is enough to function. Your greatest fear is civilians, women, children. In 28% of the narco houses you've raided in 9 years, there were civilians inside. Wives, girlfriends, children, mothers. People who live with the criminals, not because they're criminals, but because they're family. And family in Mexico doesn't move out. When the dad turns out to be a drug trafficker, the family stays because they have nowhere to go, because the narco pays the rent, because fear is stronger than morality, because poverty doesn't give you alternative housing options. 28%. Almost 1 in 3. And if you go up those stairs and open a door and there's a 6-year-old child lying in a bed in the middle of a firefight, you have to make a decision in a quarter of a second that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life regardless of what you decide. You go up. Narrow staircase, 16 inches wide. Barely fits a man with tactical gear. Going up a staircase during an assault is the most vulnerable moment. You're exposed. You have no cover. If there's someone above aiming down, You're a perfect target framed in the stairwell like a shooting range silhouette. You lead. You always lead. Because you can't ask a 24-year-old man with 8 months of experience to go up first on a staircase where there might be a grenade launcher pointing down. You go up, step by step. The rifle points upward. Your heart beats so hard you feel it in your teeth. You reach the landing. The second-floor hallway has 3 doors, all closed. Behind one of those doors there's a man with a .50 caliber. Or there isn't. Or there's a sleeping child. Or there's a pregnant woman. Or there are 5 guys with rifles waiting for you to open the door so they can turn you into a colander. You don't know. You can't know. And you have to open it anyway. First door. Kick. It opens. Bathroom. Empty. Second door. Portable ram. It opens. Bedroom. A mattress on the floor. Black plastic bags stacked against the wall. Chemicals smell. The drugs. 200 kilos of crystal packed in half-kilo bags. 400 bags. $15 million in a bedroom that doesn't even have a closet. No hostiles. You secure. You mark. Next, third door. The last one. If the .50 caliber exists, it's here. You position yourself beside the door. Sanchez on the other side. Ochoa covers the stairs. Ramirez comes up with Team Bravo. There are 6 of you now in front of one door. You breathe. Once. Protocol says flashbang and entry. But if there are civilians inside, the flashbang can cause permanent hearing damage in a child, can trigger a cardiac arrest in an elderly person, can burn skin if it detonates too close. If there are civilians, the grenade is a problem. If you don't use it, and there's a guy with a grenade launcher, the absence of a grenade is your funeral. You decide in 1 second. Grenade. You throw it. The flash. The blast. You enter. The bedroom has a large window facing the street. In front of the window there's a metal tripod. On the tripod sits a Browning M2, .50 caliber. The weapon weighs 84 pounds and fires 550 rounds per minute, and each one of those rounds can penetrate an 8-inch concrete wall. The weapon is there. The operator isn't. Behind the bed, sitting on the floor with his hands on his head and his eyes blinded by the grenade, is a man. Early 40s, white t-shirt, jeans. You shout at him not to move. He doesn't move. You cuff him. Trembling. You or him, you don't know. Probably both. Next to him, curled up under a blanket, is a woman. Mid-30s. Tank. Top. She's crying. She has no weapon. She's the wife. The girlfriend. The person who was sleeping next to a man who had an anti-aircraft weapon mounted in their bedroom window like it was a flower pot with geraniums. And behind the woman, clinging to her back with his eyes squeezed shut and his hands over his ears, is a boy. 7, 8 years old. Black hair, brown skin, barefoot. Spider-Man pajamas. He's shaking so hard you can see the vibrations in his body from 10 feet away. He's not crying. He's too scared to cry. You look at the boy. The boy looks at you. And in those eyes you see something that's going to be seared into your memory with more permanence than any bullet, any explosion, any corpse. You see pure terror. The terror of a 7-year-old who was asleep and woke up to an explosion and a white light and men in masks with rifles screaming in his bedroom. To him, you're not the good guy. To him, you're the monster. You're the armed man who came to destroy his world at 3 in the morning. And it doesn't matter how many times they tell you in human rights courses that your job saves lives. That boy in Spider-Man pajamas is going to remember your helmet, your rifle, your voice shouting orders for the rest of his life. And you're going to remember his eyes for the rest of yours. The house is secured at 3:51, 9 minutes since entry. 3 hostiles neutralized on the ground floor. 1 detained on the upper floor. The other 2 who were supposedly in the house weren't there. Intelligence said 6 to 8. There were 4. The 32% margin of error of your sources working as usual. 200 kilos of methamphetamine recovered. 14 long guns, 3 handguns, 1 RPG-7 grenade launcher, the Browning .50 caliber, and $42,000 in cash distributed in backpacks under the bed where a 7-year-old boy slept. $42,000 under a child's bed? The kid was probably using the backpacks as pillows. You're not going to forget that image. Dawn finds you sitting on the rear bumper of the armored truck, while the forensic technicians from the prosecutor's office process the scene and paramedics treat the detainee who has a superficial cut on his forehead from door fragments. Your team is complete. 8 went in, 8 came out. No friendly casualties. It's an operational success. The report will read, "Successful operation, objective secured, shipment seized, no casualties among law enforcement." The newspapers will publish the photo of the arsenal spread on a table, and the prosecutor will hold a press conference and pin on himself the medal you'll never receive. Because credit flows upward, risk flows downward. Medals are for desks. Nightmares are for the ones who kick down doors. Sanchez sits next to you. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to say anything. You've known him for 11 years. He offers you coffee from the thermos he always keeps in the truck. You accept. It's lukewarm and tastes like plastic and dust, and it's the best coffee of your life. Ochoa takes off his helmet. His hands are still. They're not trembling anymore. You look at his eyes. They're different from 2 hours ago. Older. He just aged 10 years in 9 minutes. Welcome to the club, you think? You don't say it. Your personal phone rings at 6:30. It's your wife. Everything okay? Fine. Lots of work, but fine. The kids are asking if you'll be home for breakfast. You say yes. You say you'll be there in an hour. You hang up. You get in the truck. You take off the vest, the helmet, the gloves. Underneath the tactical gear, there's a 37-year-old man in a sweat-soaked undershirt that smells like gunpowder and adrenaline, and something else that doesn't have a name, but that everyone who does this job recognizes. You drive 45 minutes to your house. A modest house in a middle-class neighborhood that you bought with a government housing loan. You'll finish paying off when you're 58. You park. You walk in. Your 6-year-old daughter runs to you and hugs your legs. Your 4-year-old son shows you a drawing of a dinosaur. Your wife serves scrambled eggs and looks at you with that look that's half relief and half question. The question she never asks out loud. How much longer? You don't know. You can't answer something you don't know. You sit down for breakfast. The eggs taste like salt and normalcy and home. Your daughter asks why your eyes are red. You tell her it's the dust. Your son asks if you're going to play with him today. You tell him yes. You say yes to everything because in this moment, sitting in this kitchen that smells like coffee and tortillas, with your kids laughing and your wife pouring orange juice, the only thing you want in the world is for this table to be your entire universe, and for the beige door of House 412 and the boy in the Spider-Man pajamas and the sound of your own rifle to stay outside. But they don't stay outside. They never stay outside. They sit down with you at the table. They eat breakfast with you. And they'll have dinner with you tonight. And every night. Until the next operation. Which could be tomorrow. Which could be tonight. Which could be in 20 minutes.